Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope you all are doing well. In our previous lecture, we learned about two Englishmen, William Hawkins and Sir Thomas Ray, who came to India for trade and were sent by their respective kings. We also talked about Mughal emperor at that time, Jahangir, and how he received them and how he treated them. And then today, we will continue our journey in Mughal history and learn about two important emperors who came after Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. We'll see how Shah Jahan built some of the most famous monuments in India and how Aurangzeb policies changed the empire. By the end of this lecture, you'll understand their contribution and the differences between the two rulers. So, we are going to start from the first emperor, Shah Jahan. He started his reign in 1592 and it ended in 1666. So, his real name was Prince Khurram. Before he became Emperor, Shah Jahan was exiled from Delhi. He went to live in Thatta in modern day Pakistan. Later, when he became emperor in 1627, he ordered that a mosque be built in Thatta to thank the people for helping him. Today, Shah Jahan's mosque is an important landmark of Thatta. And as you can see in the picture, the mosque was set within a Mughal garden. The use of the brick and tile work associated with Sindh make the mosque a good example of Mughal architectural style that has been adapted to its local area. It has three large domes and is decorated with glazed tiles in shades of blue on white, yellow, or purple backgrounds. The use of the square, rectangular, and hexagonal tiles represents the height of tile decoration in Sindh. We have read many Mughals up till now, so one thing was common in all of them. They were very pompous. So they used to spend most of their money in these buildings. They wanted to build the most beautiful and you can say extravaganza building to show the people their strength, power. That was their strategy. Shah Jahan was not only famous for his magnificent buildings like Taj Mahal, but also for his luxurious court. One of the most important symbol and famous symbol of his wealth and power was peacock throne. Two peacocks at the back. That's why this throne was called peacock throne. So Shah Jahan means king of the world. As one historian has said, his reign was the most powerful, peaceful, and architecturally productive in the whole subset of the Mughal dynasty. As soon as he became emperor, Shah Jahan ordered craftsmen to make him a new throne of fantastic splendor, the peacock throne. The peacock had been a sign of power in the subcontinent for many centuries. The throne took 7 years to complete and was made of gold studded with jewels. Its canopy was supported by 12 pillars covered in emeralds. The inside of the canopy was enameled and the outside side covered with rubies and other jewels. It was worth about 10 million rubies 10 million rupees at that time. The new throne became a symbol of the glory of Mughal rule and was kept in the Red Fort in Delhi until it was stolen by the Persians in 1739. So, the two peacocks at the back, decorated with emerald and rubies, looking as if they were alive and ready to spread their feathers. So instead of protecting their empire from invaders, they were busy to build buildings and to collect the gold, jewelry, what not. So, because of that, when a nation, actually, when the king starts to neglect his duties and just stay in his palace and don't want to intervene among the people affair, and then don't want to know what is happening in his reign, and why the outsiders are coming. There, that time there were so many outsiders. There were Portuguese, there were French, there were Britishers. So they should, at that time they could have be stay focused. Why these people are so much interested in India? um, so they were not paying attention towards that. So because of that, their downfall has started at that time. It is not and the last king Bahadur Shah Zafar, who was the reason of the downfall of the Mughal Empire. No, not at all. It took a whole century to fall the great grandeur of this Mughal Empire, and these all last 10 emperors, they were the reason of this downfall. They were not paying attention towards the important affairs. They were not paying attention towards the activities of the foreigners. So because of that, they fell prey of downfall. So I am about to read the account of a foreign visitor. So see what they thought about the magnificent buildings and the peacock throne and the attire of the Mughal emperor. He writes, "The king appeared seated upon his throne at the end of the great hall in the most magnificent attire. His garment was of white and delicately flowered satin with a silk and gold embroidery of the first texture. The turban of gold cloth had an agate headdress of feathers. So in his cap, it was there was a feather, whose base was composed of diamonds of an extraordinary size and value. Beside an oriental topaz like the sun, a necklace of immense pearls suspended from his neck reached to the stomach." See, he is not only talking about throne, he is not only talking about where he was sitting and what actually he's talking about, also what he was wearing, and how was his turban, how was his clothes, and what was the texture of his clothes, and what was he wearing in his neck. So each and everything was the proof of their pompous and luxurious life. So, other than previous kings, Shah Jahan was more into religious policies, and he was a religious person. So, Shah Jahan followed Islam more than closely Jahangir or Akbar. He encouraged Islam by introducing many things, and he reintroduced many celebrations. Firstly, he reintroduced the celebration of Islamic festivals and allowing pilgrims to visit Makkah and Medina, building many new mosques. So he was famous in building mosques. He used to give orders to build mosque in every town actually. So he declared that each and every person is free to go to mosque and pray, and they have to celebrate each and every festival also. So yeah, we can say that Shah Jahan was a more religious person. So now comes the topic of his beloved wife, Mumtaz Mahal, for whom he built a magnificent building that still exists in Agra, Taj Mahal. And you have heard about Taj Mahal. You maybe have seen in pictures or movies also. So Mumtaz Mahal was the niece of Noor Jahan. You know Noor Jahan, she was wife of Jahangir. So she was promised in marriage to Prince Khurram. Khurram means Shah Jahan, who later became Shah Jahan. When she was 14 years old and he was 15, their marriage took place in Agra 5 years later in 1612. She was often at his side, even traveling with him on military campaigns. She was a kind hearted queen who gave immensely in charity, especially for orphans. Mumtaz Mahal died in 1631 at the age of 39. Shah Jahan was deeply upset. He put on white mourning clothes and didn't carry out any official duties for a week. For 2 years, he gave up wearing expensive clothes, perfumes, and jewels. He would not listen to music. He never married again. Shah Jahan built a famous mausoleum, the Taj Mahal, for Mumtaz Mahal. So now you know Taj Mahal was built in the memory of his beloved wife Mumtaz Mahal. Okay, so Mumtaz Mahal was very important in Shah Jahan's life, and he never got married again. He never celebrated after his beloved wife. He was very faithful towards his late wife. So Shah Jahan had four sons, and the eldest Shah Jahan's favorite son was Prince Dara Shekhu, and second prince was Aurangzeb. He was a stubborn one, and two youngest were Shuja and Murad. So Dara Shekhu was his favorite, and he wanted to make him emperor after himself. So Aurangzeb knew that he will not allow him to be emperor, so he was preparing for himself. Shah Jahan did not trust Prince Aurangzeb. On one occasion, Aurangzeb wanted to make money through sea trading. So, you have read about the ports, the Bandar Lahiri and Sindh port. So, by the mid 17th century, sand had blocked up the harbor. So in 1652, Aurangzeb planned a new port at Kokralo on the Sindh coast and ordered a ship to be built. But Aurangzeb's enemies told Shah Jahan that the prince wanted to get rich in order to rise up against him and take the throne. Before the port was finished, Shah Jahan asked Aurangzeb to explain his plans. As a result, Aurangzeb seems to have stopped building the port. In 1657, because of ill health, Shah Jahan handed over power to Dara Shikoh, his eldest son. His eldest son, his favorite son, but once again the Mughals fought over the throne. Each of Dara's younger brothers raised armies to try to take the throne from him. So Aurangzeb defeated Dara and Murad in battle. So one of the reason of downfall of Mughal empire was there was no proper system of succession to whom to make the next king, who is more eligible for that. There was no criteria for that. In every throne, every time when an emperor fell ill or dies, there was only a one solution. All of the sons, they used to fight with each other, and one of the uh, prince that remained alive, he becomes the new king. That was the strategy. And in that, it should not be forgotten that it was often true that huge sums were wasted when emperors died and there was a succession dispute. When Shah Jahan fell sick in 1657, all four sons ended up fighting on to succeed him. So Aurangzeb defeated all his brothers and he claimed the throne. So we can say that there was not a proper system. That's why they used to waste a lot of money into that. They used to waste a lot of lives into that. So there was not a proper strategy. Because of that, they were struggling in many fields, in administration, in military. So because of that, their control became weak. So they were declining in military expertise also. So we can say here we can say that Mughal empire was weakening because of their own faults, because of their own shortcomings, and they were not overcoming those shortcomings. They were enjoying that. So we have talked about Aurangzeb. Now let's find out what is the meaning of Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb means jewels in the throne. So what was the last great emperor like? So historians have said different things about Aurangzeb. Some have commented on his brilliant mind, but others have noted that he was a complex man and not all his people liked him. Some accuse him of the reason of Mughals' downfall. Some think that some have the opinion that he was the first person from the downfall of the Mughal started. Many considered that no, Aurangzeb was the one who was securing the empire. So there are mixed opinions. Let's find it out. So why do they have such different things? One reason might be that Aurangzeb's character seems to have changed during his reign. He became emperor when he was already aged 40. At the time he became emperor, as one historian has said, a fabulous empire was his, with all its magnificent treasures, superb cities, forts, and palaces, and vast human resources. So, at first, apparently, he found pleasure in his new grandeur. He mounted the peacock throne, wore the imperial jewels, viewed the treasures of the library, inscribing his name in many of its great manuscripts, listed to the court musicians, and carried out the traditions of artistic patronage. But soon, Aurangzeb began to change. As uh, you read more about him, you'll discover some of the ways in which he altered the tradition of the Mughal rulers before him. He imposed tax on the non-Muslims. What he said? He said that non-Muslims have to pay jizya. If they are not ready to accept Islam, then they have to pay jizya, because he was strict towards them. So non-Muslims means Hindus and Sikh, and they were in majority in India. So they didn't like his policies. They were against his policies. He was imposing on the people. He was not asking, or he was not very, you can say, flexible in his behavior. He was very rigid. So this rigidity became the reason of his um, people's hatred toward him. People didn't like his policies, his reign, and or there were always invaders in his throne. We will talk about Marathas in our next lecture. After defeating the imperial army, Aurangzeb took steps to establish himself. He fought many battles, and he also got victories into that. But although Shah Jahan had left the empire larger and more peaceful than at the other time in his history, this didn't last. Aurangzeb was soon finding that much of his time and money was spent fighting. So there was a war against the Rajputs from 1679 to 81, and rebellions by Sikhs and the Satnamis in Mewar and the Jats in Gokal. So there were, see how many people groups are fighting against Aurangzeb. Since Aurangzeb was keen to extend his empire northwards, he also had fought a tough campaign against Pathan tribes in the northwest frontier. And perhaps most costly for Aurangzeb was the campaign fought against a Maratha tribe in the Deccan. So there was a Maratha leader, Shivaji. So he fought against him, and by the time of his death, he had a larger area in Mughal Empire. Stretching from Kashmir to the Karnal and Ghazni to Chittagong. So there is no doubt that he expanded his empire, but there is no doubt also that he spent most of the government's money, yeah, or Mughal Empire emperor's money into the fighting, and he lost many lives into that. So because of his rigid behavior, he lost respect among people. So, in today's lecture, we have covered two questions, question number 6 and 7. 6 one is, what was the name of Shah Jahan's new throne? We all know that, we have discussed this. And how did Aurangzeb become emperor? This is seventh one. And we know how he became emperor, how he fought with his brothers and against his father. So, we have to write it down. You can easily find it out in Shah Jahan's topic. Shah Jahan's throne, and about Aurangzeb, how he got this throne in his topic. So we have not fully covered Aurangzeb. We will continue into our next lecture about Aurangzeb. So you have to copy, write it down these two questions into your copy. Until now, we have covered about seven questions, and these all seven should be written into your notebook up till now. And by the end of the art chapter, we will cover, inshallah, all the questions. So now pause the video and read the whole lecture thoroughly, and mark your answers and important information. See you in the next lecture. Allah Hafiz.